So, thank you, Jeff. We're going to be interested a little bit in discussing the depth of the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. Talk a little bit about some of the teachings that they're related to being joyous at all moments and the awareness of the divine presence in everything and everywhere at all times, and therefore there's no conflict between the body and the soul, and a person doesn't have to pain their body in order to get to a place of soul. A person doesn't have to transcend the limitations of the physical in order to become more spiritual. We're gonna focus a little bit more on his teachings on prayer, which is very profound, and they actually changed the perspective of what prayer is, what tefillah is, and how we relate to it. We're going to see it's a long teachings. This is a collection of many of the teachings that are connected to prayer, but most of the Baal Shem Tov's teachings themselves, the actual teachings, are related to prayer. And he uses prayer as a stepping stone to explain his whole philosophy, his whole understanding about life, and the whole spiritual constitution of a human being, and how do we refine our consciousness, how do we elevate our consciousness. But prayer is used as a stepping stone. Early Chassidic masters would say that the whole of his teachings is really prayer, and the idea is prayer versus study. Study, you're studying it from an abstract, objective place, and prayer is when you're internalizing into a very subjective. So it's the nefesh adam, the Torah adam, the teachings of man, the soul of man. So we'll read a little bit. We'll start first with the first teaching that's recorded here and try to understand this in depth. So the first teaching starts like this. You have it in the Hebrew and you have it in the English. Yeah, so Kuf Dalet in the Hebrew. And then in English you have it where it says first of two teachings, so you have it like that. So it says like this. A window, a brilliant gem, you shall make to the ark, and at the peak, and it shall peak at 1 amma above. Which is the story of Noach and the Teva, Noach and the ark. Where Hashem tells him that he should build this Teva, this ark. And at the top of the ark, you should put a gem or a window. It should be brilliant. That should be the light to light up the ark. Now, Teva also comes from the word in Hebrew, which means a word. So Teva is brilliant. You should make the Teva brilliant. You should make the ark brilliant. It can also be translated, you should make your words brilliant. That you should make your words shine. And in these teachings, he talks a lot about the idea of entering fully into the presence of what you're saying. So much so, this is going to be talking about prayer, but we're going to say that prayer has to expand to all areas of life. So much so that when you have intention for something, let's say you're praying. Let's say you're literally praying and you're saying words of prayer in a traditional way. So you open up a siddur and you're saying the words of prayer. Or let's say Shema Yisrael. Right? Here is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So what do you think? You're thinking Shema Yisrael, and you're thinking to yourself, Shema means to listen, or to hear, to deeply understand. If you want, you can close the door, maybe. Shema Yisrael means you should listen, you should hear. Yisrael is Israel. And you're thinking what these words mean. Hashem is Elokeinu, Hashem, which transcendent, infinite, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is Elokeinu, is our God. And you're thinking these words. So when you're thinking these words, are you fully present in the words that you're speaking? Because when you're saying Shema Yisrael, you're Yisrael. So Shema Yisrael means listen Israel. Who's Israel? It's me. I'm the person that's speaking is speaking to himself, really. Right? It's almost like the body speaking to the soul, or the soul speaking to the body. Or one just declaring it. So if you're thinking a thought, which is kavanah, if you're having intention of what the words are meaning when you're reciting them, then you're separate from the words that you're reciting. The only way you can fully be in the words that you're reciting is if you have intention before you speak, and then you speak. This is also another big chiddush, another big innovation from the Baal Shem Tov, which he says, don't think when you're speaking, the words of prayer, think the moment before you speak. And then say the words to be fully present with all your energy, all your power, all your body fully into the words. You want to say something. So everyone says when you speak, even let's say between two people, you want to say something, you say, okay, think before you speak and really think what you're saying. And he would say, you should think before you speak, but when you speak, just be in the words. And that's where you really enter into the words. Okay, let's say, for example, between two people, someone says, I love you. Okay, that's a very big word to say. But if you say, you say to someone, I really love you. If you're thinking while you're saying the words, I love you, what love means and how you're defining it and how you're contextualizing love, then you're not really feeling love. So what you should do, if you want to really say this statement, you should think about what it means and then say it fully, just with your whole body, your whole being is saying this word. And this is what he says also in terms of prayer. Sorry, Taslateva, the word should become brilliant, is don't think when you speak, think before you speak, and say the words in the structure. The way the Baal Shem Tov wants to do this is generally like every 3 words, if possible. Really, it says you can do it with every sound, but it gets really complicated. But you can do it with every 3 words. Shema Yisrael Hashem, Elokeinu, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Every 2 words. Thought, you say the word, you have a thought, you say the word. And when you're saying the word, you're not just superficially expressing something, but you're entering it fully. All your strength of your being is entering into these words. That's the way your words become brilliant. So that's what he says. What does it mean? That the words that you speak should become brilliance. One word should be brilliant. Everything should be brilliant. Brilliant means that it's shining, it's beautiful. Why? Because in every every letter, there are 3 dimensions. Oilamos, neshamas, velikus. There are 3 dimensions, and 3 dimensions are worlds, souls, and godliness, divinity. Every single dimension of the world has these 3 dimensions. Especially when we're talking about prayer. Find it like this. We can change the translation and it becomes a little bit understood. Everything in this world is a composite of 3 properties. There's the object itself, and there's the subject. Okay, so there's the observer. What is that? That is oilamos and neshamas. Oilamos and neshamas. The oilamos is the world, which means what is being observed, or what's being eaten, or what's being touched. And the shamas, which is souls, is consciousness. So every interaction, you're having an interaction between your consciousness, your mindset, you, and the thing that you're interacting with. But there's a 3rd dimension here. It says in the Mishnah, look at 3 things, because everything has 3 things. There's you, the thing that you're looking at, and the thing that you're looking at and you are simultaneously being animated by a higher force. So there's the creator, creation, and consciousness. These are the 3 dimensions that actually function in all places. This table, there's the creator's energy that's sustaining this creation as table, and there's me that's observing the table or having a function of this table. Right? So there's the creator, creation, and consciousness. Creator, consciousness is oilamos, neshamas, and elikos. Oilamos, neshamas, and elikos means worlds. Neshamas is consciousness, souls, and elikos is divinity, which is the creator. Right? So you have these 3 dimensions that are interacting at all times. So he says like this, Yesh b'chol ois, in every letter has these 3 dimensions. It's not only every letter, everything. But the truth is that everything is every letter. Because what are letters? So we have to do this theory for a few moments to understand this. He says that everything in this world, every letter in this world is composite of these 3 dimensions, which is creator, creation, and consciousness. On a deeper level, everything in this world is actually a letter, a formation of letters. In Hebrew, there's no word for things. The word for things in Hebrew is davar. Davar means a word. Why is it a word? Because the tool or the medium through which creator creates creation, or the prism, or the perspective through which the Creator is manifest into creation, because it's not actually creation on the deepest level, it's all one, right? It's non-dual. So the way the Creator is manifest within creation as separation is through the medium of the letters. What are the letters? The letters, we'll say the Hebrew letters, which is the sounds, are the vessels through which gives animation to creation. Let's try to understand this a little differently. The Ein Sof, the Or Ein Sof, the Creator, is infinite. Infinity is expressed in time, space, and consciousness, which is the world that we observe. How can infinity be expressed in time, space, and consciousness? Well, the truth is it's not really a question, because infinity can express itself as it wish. But how can infinity express in time, space, and consciousness in a way that is understood by human consciousness, which means from our perspective? There has to be channels. For example, a simple example, or an example of this would be, is you imagine you're looking at the sun, the light of the sun. The light of the sun is one light. But if you have different glasses, different windows that have a different tint, so the ray of the light that shines through the room that has a blue glass is going to appear blue. The ray of light that shines through a green glass is going to appear green. It's the same light, but the appearance of the light is one is blue and one is green. So the what changes the light is the vessel. The vessel is the ois. So is the letter. The letter is not a vessel like a piece of glass. It's actually a certain vibration, a certain sound, a certain formation of sound. So let's say ah is the aleph sound. That's a certain sound. Beis or ba or gimel is another sound. Or hey, it's another sound. These are the sounds through which the one light is now refracted into different dimensions. If there's only 22 letters, so then there'll only be 22 things, right? Of course, from the letter you can only create one thing. But every letter has tziruf. Tziruf means it's combined with another letter. So let's say you take two letters, you combine them with an aleph and a beis, an a sound and a ba sound. You have av or ba, right? From every two letters you can create two combinations. From 3 letters you can create 9 combinations. From 4 letters you can create 24 combinations. From 5 letters you can create 120, and then it goes into the thousands and millions and billions, right? So if you have 22 fundamental sounds, these 22 fundamental sounds, when they combine with different combinations, create different realities. So that's the spiritual root of these combinations. Let's say computer, or table, or chair, or me, or you, are all different formations of energy. And the formation of energy comes through these letters. So it's, in the Arizal's terminology, we have this phrase called Kol Tzama, all desire. Kol Tzama actually is an acronym for 5 things. So Kol, the Chaf, is an acronym for Kli, which is vessel. And then you have the Lama, which is Levushim, which is garments. Then you have the Tzaddik, which is Slavim, which means the external light. Then you have Mem, which is Moichin, which is intelligence. And then you have Aleph, which is Or, which is light. So it comes from Or to Kli, from light to vessel. It becomes more dense, more solidified, until it becomes a particular wave, a particular energy, very distinct energy. It's like you put in a computer into the plug. The energy field is one, but now it's animating and giving life to a computer, or giving life to another dish. Each one is very distinct. The root of it is the Or, is the light. But it's then expressed through the ice, and the ice has the different sirufim. You're following? The different combinations. Billions of these combinations seem to be meaningless. So let's say I say a word. I say shulchan, which is table. It's made out of, it's composite of these 4 letters, shin, lam, and ches, nun. right? Which has, the Shulchan has these particular vowels. So kubutz or shuruk, which is a particular sphera, and a shulchan, a kametz, which is keser, and so each one is a different variation of the sound, and that animates the table. So let's go back to the teaching now. Everything, he says, every ois, every letter has oilamos, neshamas, and lukus, has creator, creation, and consciousness. But every letter really means everything, because letters are things. But when you're talking, you're one step above the actual manifestation of that vibration. Because the vibration gives rise to the physical manifestation of the table, a shulchan. But if you're talking and saying the word shulchan, you're standing here, as it were. Right? So it's a higher rung. So speech is a higher rung than the physical. We'll see soon that there's something that's called yuchudim amitim, perfect unity, which is when the combination of sounds that you're creating are actually meaningful, purposeful, and actually have intention. When you say abba jabba dubu, it has a lot of different sound combinations, and it sounds very interesting, but it means nothing. Maybe it does somewhere. There's a messianic idea, the Mashiach idea, that where all the sounds become part of this one great sound, where each sound is actually expressing the oneness of Hashem. But, okay, now these sounds don't mean anything. So when a person speaks, says the Baal Shem, the first thing you have to know, yesh b'chol ois, oilamis, neshamas, alakos. Every word that you speak actually is a composite of creation, of creator, creation, and consciousness. Let's say you look at a page and you're reading text. If there's no observer, which means there's no interaction between consciousness and the thing that's being, or let's say the page or table or the tree or whatever you're looking at, there's the animating force of the creator that's animating this book. But before consciousness comes into play, these words appear inanimate. What gives it animation is the observer or the speaker. So we're actually hooking into the energy field that gives vibration. So it's not just passive, that we're observing. There's something that's alive. There's a tree that's alive because it has a creative animating force that's giving its existence. And so it has the creator and creation. There's no consciousness. It's observing it. Maybe there is, but let's say there isn't. The moment the consciousness observes, it actually becomes even more alive because it's becoming alive in my consciousness. So I'm participating in this creative unfolding. And that's another important part, that we're not just separate observers in creation. We are participating in creation, and the more alive we are, the more animated we are internally, the more animated the world appears. An old Medrash speaks about Avram when he finds his first epiphany and he finds Hashem. It says Ra Bira Delekas. He sees a home on fire, and he says Yesh Baal Bira. Who's the owner of this home? And hits the Baal Bira, and the owner looks up from the top window. But when he says a Bira Delekas, home on fire, what does it mean? So some people say it means that the world is being destroyed. He sees like the corruption of the world. But it can actually be translated the opposite. He sees the world on fire. The world is animated and alive. To him, he walks on the street and he sees everything is alive. Why is he seeing everything alive? Because he's alive. The more alive you are, the more you're going to see the aliveness of the world. So there's a reciprocated and both, it's directed in both directions. Now, therefore, he says like this. Kiyash b'cholois, let's go back into the words. Kiyash b'cholois, oilam eshamas alakus. You can read it in English also, because every letter contains world, souls, and souls. And it's elevated, and it's connected, and it joins to become one, im alakus, with the divinity. Why is it joined to become one? Because what is the divinity? What is the creator aspect? The creator's aspect in creation is the animating aspect. So the The stone is animated. The stone is an animated thing. Remember, it's a vibration. Right? We just said that, right? It's the stone, Evan, is Aleph Vez Nun, Vav Vez Nun, which creates the animation of the stone. The stone is not an inanimate object. It's a silent object. In Hebrew, you don't call stones inanimate. You call it doimim. Doimim means that it's silent. You can't hear it. But it's alive. It's just as alive as water or a tree or an animal as a human being. Everything is alive. It's measures of aliveness, but there's aliveness there. It's teeming with life, with movement, with vibration. The ultimate thing that it's expressing is the divine vibration, correct? Which is the Elikus, the creator, at this moment. When you are observing the stone from an alive place, all of a sudden you start seeing the stone as alive as well, right? You actually see the stone to be a living being, to be something that's alive. When you start seeing it, you're actually connecting it to its source, right? It's oilim u'miskashrim misyachdim im elikus. It's elevated and brought back to its divine animating life force. Because the animating life force is here. Let's imagine this visual. If this is the animating force, this is the creator. Here's the creation. When you're looking at the creation, it looks dead. From the outside, right? Here's the creator that animates this. This is all alive, but it appears to be silent. When you, consciousness, observe this as alive, what you're really doing is you bring it back to the creator. Because that's where it came from, which is the aliveness. So how do we connect things to the creator? The more we see. The more we see, the more elevated things become in our consciousness.
But isn't it already connected to the creator?
It is correct. From our perspective, it's not. No, I'm not saying it's not connected to the creator. It's connected as a creation, but you don't see the animating force of the creator in a stone or the aliveness in a stone as much as you see it in a bird. The bird seems more to be connected to the stream of life, to life. And the stone seems to be something that's dead. But if you're going to see it from a perspective of life, which it really is, you're revealing what its nature is. So you're mekasher, miyachad to elikus. Now this works also in terms of letters. So we're understanding this on multiple levels, right? Because on one hand, the Baal Shem Tov is talking about a very simple thing about taking actual letters and speaking them, but there's so much depth in this because it's not just letters. Letters is just an example because he's using letters because that's the way he's expressing this teaching in letters, but it's a life example because everything has letters. The whole world is filled with letters. You understand? Others write the same thing. That's what it is. The whole world is filled with letters. It's the combinations, right? Because everything has a combination. Now, when you take one letter, now you're going to do something even more interesting. You're going to take one letter when you speak. When you speak, you take one letter. You do this also when you read, but it's not as animated. So let's say you look at the word Evan, right? Which means stone. And you read it. So when you're reading the word stone, Aleph, Vez, Nun are unrelated to each other. They're just three letters on a page. When you read these three letters together as one word, you just enliven these three letters. Because A means nothing, and Ba means nothing, and Na means nothing. But Evan, which is those three sounds together, those three letters together, all of a sudden means stone. So when you speak these letters, you're giving animation to these letters. So you're doing something even more than the letter itself, to see the movement and the liveness in the letter itself. But by speaking these letters, you're combining these letters together. Now it becomes a word. Now it has meaning. Again, you're enlivening this into a deeper reality. It's always alive. It's always connected to the Creator's life force. The letter Aleph, Vez, and Nun. But when you create this now it has new meaning. And now it means Evan. So when you're reading it, you just created a yichud, a unification of these Aleph, Beis, Nun. When you're seeing something, and you connect it, that tree, it came from, it came from a seed, and the seed came from Europe, or whatever. All of a sudden there's a connection. This is a whole story, such as a tree, right? Or you look at something, this is a stone, and how does stones form? You just enliven it. It's not just one stone. Now it has a whole story. This is also what you do when you read. But when you speak it, it's even more so. Because when you're speaking, you're actually animating with the power of speech, which is this power of the creation, of the creator in creation. So achakach, not only does it become connected as a teva, as a word, following that, the letters connect and join together and become a word. That's the beauty of it, right? It's not just letters, it becomes a word. And afterwards they connect and create proper yichudim unifications with God, with divinity, with godliness. Yichudim amitim belikus. Therefore, a person has to, and through that, a person creates true yichudim amitim. True yichudim amitim means true unifications. Why the true unification versus non-true unifications? Because true unification means that the word that you're now expressing actually has meaning, right? Because there's something that cannot have meaning. But when you're going to speak these words, all of a sudden these words have meaning. It's ala, a, ba, ga, and all of a sudden these things have meaning. So it actually is a real expression. It's a real yichud, right? As opposed to something that you took a bunch of sounds together and you rambled them together, which is a yichud. It's a unification, but it has no meaning. So that's a mitim. That's true unifications with elikus. Now this idea, very quickly, we're going to go through another way of understanding this, but this is the proper way in this context. That olam is neshamas elikus, which means worlds, souls, and divinity, are actually also three ways to relate to life in general. You can always see, we have to add another dimension, because olam is already plural, worlds. There's actually four dimensions, which is world. There's world, worlds, souls, and divinity. World is when you see things in one dimension. Comes to you with a problem, asks you a question, what? Someone comes to your problem, asks you a situation, what to do. You're seeing the perspective as is in the world. World, no bigger story. The guy says, should I do this? Should I do that? This is what I'm going to answer you on that particular thing. I walk down the street, I see the car. I walk down the street, I see the tree. I'm just seeing the thing as is. Olam, just world. Very one-dimensional. Olam that's the world of Asiya, the physical. Then there's a higher level, which is Olam HaYitzira, which is the world of formation, or the world of emotion, which is Olam, which is worlds. From this perspective, you're broadening the narrative, and you're seeing worlds. That this person may be asking me for help, maybe financial help or emotional help, whatever they're asking for, but there's really something underlying. There's a backstory. The reason why this person's coming to me, and I'm saying, because there's something else related, and you start broadening the story. That's the world of worlds. You're no longer stuck. And again, it means that your consciousness becomes wider, right? If you're an animal, okay, I don't know about animals, because I can't tell you what an animal thinks, but I imagine an animal is very one-dimensional. If you put food in front of an animal, it eats. If you put a horse in front of a road, it normally walks. If you put straw, it eats. So whatever is in front of it is presented. That's what it works. A human being will try to elevate ourselves to a higher level of consciousness in terms of expansion. So the expansion consciousness is that's oilamus, it's worlds. You see, okay, why is the food in front of me? Maybe it's whatever. But this is you can expand that into something more. The higher level of living is not just to expand it, and we're going to explain soon that all these four levels actually have to be done simultaneously. The higher way of living is that it's neshamas. Neshamas also can be seen as souls. It's also another phrase we can see it as malachim, as angels, which means like what's the spiritual lesson that you're supposed to learn from this? Okay, the guy's asking me for some financial assistance. He needs $10. I get it. You need the $10. Oh, why does he need $10? He lost his job. Okay, that's already oilamus, right? So I'm starting to think maybe I can help out. And then things are like, why is he asking me? What do I have to learn from this? What's the deficiency in me? And maybe I'm not sharing enough, maybe I'm not giving enough, and that's why this person is coming to me. It's like a messenger. Someone was sent to that perspective. And then the fourth perspective is elokus. It's like an opportunity to connect with the divine. This person is just there. It's not relevant, that person's life to me at this point, but this person is a total, there's a total connection that I can have now with God in this experience, a spiritual connection. So in a way, these are four levels of perspective, which also corresponds to the world of Asiya, Bria, Yitzira, Bria, and Atzilus, right? So the four higher rungs. But ultimately, all four have to be connected at all times. When a person, we're using this as an example, but it's a very important example. If a person comes to you for help, so the first level is you see the thing as is, and that's very good. You have to see it as is. Don't start reading too much. The guy needs $10, give him the $10. First thing, that's very simple. This is what you have to do. Then you also have to think, it's not exclusive of the first paradigm, is you also have to think is like, why is the person asking $10? Maybe they need something else. Maybe there's something that's bothering them. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they need assistance. Maybe they need attention. Something. And that's the next question. So you're trying to broaden that question. And then not mutually exclusive, but inclusive in that paradigm. It also has to be, okay, so why am I seeing it? Regardless of the other person, what's the lesson I have to learn for my own self? And then how could this bring me to some type of level of yichud with Hashem, unification with Hashem? All these four things are simultaneous. It's related, it's exactly related to what we spoke before. It's just about broadening things. You're seeing an ice, you're seeing a letter, you're seeing a word, you're seeing meaning, you're seeing purpose. All of a sudden it becomes much larger than the actual thing itself. So again, in simple phrase, let's really bring it down. What the Baal Shem Tov is teaching here is that whatever you speak, enter it fully, because everything you speak actually has all these levels. Every word that you say, every sound that you utter has worlds, has souls, and has divinity, or has creation, consciousness. When you're creating, if you're speaking in a correct way, in a meaningful way, in a purposeful way, so the words that you're going to speak is going to create beautiful things. Let's say you're speaking words of prayer. So you're taking a letter Baruch, Beis, and all of a sudden you're attaching it to a Resh, and to a blessing comes. And the word Baruch, blessing, is not just a random word that we use Baruch for blessing. Like in English, which is just Lashon Haskami, it's arbitrary, that the word blessing means blessing. Curse can mean blessing, blessing can be curse. But the words Baruch, which is Beis, Resh, Vav, Chaf, is the energy field through which blessings come down. Correct? So when you're saying these things, you're actually creating these things, and you're actually creating this sound. V'tzarech Adam, and therefore a person, a person has to connect himself with every single level of the above mentioned, which means with the Olamis, with the Neshamas, with the Elikus. In other words, they're not exclusive, they're inclusive, right? So you have to connect yourself with all these three levels. And then they will create unity in all the worlds. Now, because everything is a holographic image of everything, so all the worlds, we said before very quickly that the Olam Hashamas Elikus also corresponds to universes. So there's a physical universe, there's an emotional universe, there's a mindful universe, an intellectual universe, and there's a spiritual universe. So there's worlds, souls, and divinity. So right, the same four categories. Or the way he's phrasing it is the three categories here, because the world is just like the observational reality. That's the way it is. So when a person connects himself fully with the words that they speak, right? So when you're creating a unity between these two letters, when you're saying Shulchan or Evan or Baruch, blessing, and you're connecting the Beis to the Reish, to the Vav, to the Chaf, so you're just doing it on a physical plane. You're just voicing these sounds. But all these things are also occurring in Oilamos, Neshamas, and Alikus. So what you're actually doing when you're creating this unity, it's not just the unity in a vibrational sound in the physical world. This vibrational sound now has repercussions, it has a ripple effect in all worlds, because you're interconnected with everything. Right? Because everything is interconnected with everything else, when you're going to raise your consciousness to a place of Elikus, to a place of divinity, of creator, you're actually elevating all of creation. Like in a simple example we mentioned before, when you see the world on fire, when you see the animation of the universe, and you see that everything is animated with the Creator's life force at all times, the world is actually with you being elevated. But not just the physical, all the worlds, because everything is making unifications at this present time. Right? Because the interconnectedness with everything, the consciousness is a co-participator in the creative unfolding. We're consciousness that's observing, and our observation is creating the animation of this creation, which is continuous. Because from the perspective of the Creator, everything is animated all the time. But the perspective of creation, it doesn't appear that way. B'dvar Hashem shamayim nasu. With the words of Hashem, Lo'il Hashem dvarcha nisba shamayim. All the words of the Creator are standing in heaven. Baal Shem Tov says this is permanent. The words that say Yehi Rakia, let there be a firmament, or Yehi Or, let there be light, is continuous. Because the letter formation of Aleph Vav Reish, which creates light, is forever, is always. But if we don't see the light, if we as observers are not seeing the light, then it appears to be dark. The moment we see the light, we're giving animation to those words. Let me give you a simple example. It could be like a little bit completely from a different perspective. We'll use this in a traditional context. Let's say you take the book of Psalms, okay, the book of Tehillim, and you read that King David Melech sang this song, the David Mizmor. This is the song that King David sang. Now, King David is no longer alive. At some point in time, he was alive, and he chanted these verses. He composed these verses. These are the sounds that he created. When you recite these verses of Psalms, so the Talmud, the Gemara says in Yevamos, that King David Melech, as if he's speaking these words in the grave. What does that mean? What does it mean he's speaking these words in the grave? The words were once sounded. Now these words are dead on the page, or dead in the universe. It was composed at one time. You are now reciting these words that he spoke. So who's speaking now? You're speaking his words. You're enlivening something that was dead for thousands of years. But you're enlivening his words. So it's as if he's speaking right now. You and him are joining this creative process. We have to take that and I'll understand this a little bit from a different perspective. With the Creator himself. That God spoke creation into being. Right? Vayomer Hashem Yihi. Hashem said, let there be, and there was. And these are refractions of that animating expression of speech. And we spoke many times why speech, because it's separate, etc. But we'll keep that aside. But the world is full of letters, full of sounds. Sometimes the sounds seem inanimate. When we animate these sounds, we're co-creating at this point. Because now everything becomes alive, which was already alive but appeared to be dead for thousands of years, or 10 years, or 4 years, or a year. This is the process of us participating in creation. So when we participate, we're actually enlivening everything. So everything is enlivened. Then on high, it becomes a great joy and a great pleasure on high. What does it mean it becomes a great pleasure on high? What does it mean it becomes a pleasure on high?
I don't know.
Yeah, what does it mean it becomes a pleasure on high? That it becomes alive. Everything becomes alive. What's joy? Joy is a sense of being alive. More alive, less joy, more joy. Tiny is pleasure. It's all about the sense of being alive. The divine, so to speak, force in creation is enlivened. The simcha is now joy. Through our joy. Through our enlivening. And that creates great joy. The chayas alaki, the divine animating force now within creation, is no longer inanimate, but it's animate. That's the joy, the expression. So, and this is what it says in the verse. Tachtim, shniyim, v'shlishim. This is what it says in the verse. This is the meaning of the levels of the ark, which were world, souls, and godliness. These are the three levels. So it says that there was the ground floor, and then there was the middle floor, and then there were 3 floors in the ark. In the Tevit, actually 3 floors. So the Baal Shem Tov said the 3 floors, the 3 floors in the ark are these 3 levels of Oilmus, Neshamas, and Alikus. Right?
Why does he leave out the first Olam?
Because the Olam is a given. There's no participation in Olam. We want to say what makes us to be human, what makes us to be participating, is when we can create something that's oilamus, that's something that's alive. Oilam is like in this. I would say that in the symbolism of the ark, it's actually the ark itself. Mm-hmm. It's not the floors of the ark. It's the ark itself. It's a container. The container is a container. You fill it. The container is the world. Now we're going to participate in the world. What we're going to do? We're going to see oilamus. We're going to see neshamas. We're going to see malachim or alikus. Right. So we're participating in this alivening process.
So it's like the word on a page.
Yeah, it's the word on the
Before
page.
it's been spoken. Like
No. That's already the letter. It's like
Yeah,
a
the
letter.
letter.
It's like a letter. It's like a letter.
Yeah.
It's like a letter. It's before it's a word. So before it's a word, it doesn't mean anything. It's like a letter. It's interesting that in the Arizal also talks about these three, but he calls it Iber Yunika Moichen. Iber Yunika Moichen is impregnation, suckling, and then mind, which is three states of maturation. That first a fetus exists as a fetus, so it's impregnation. Then the child is born and it has its mother's milk. So that's a state of Yunika, which is it's a suckling. And then the third stage is moichen, which is intelligence, which is when a person becomes bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah, a person becomes mindful. So the three stages is that you go from little mind, bigger mind to big mind, right? But we spoke, remember before, that moichen is the fourth rung, right? Kli, levushim, slamim, right? Moichen is the fourth rung. Moichen is intelligence, but there's something that's behind the moichen, which is mind, which is or, which is light. So in the Baal Shem system, it's actually about the light. It's not about the moichen. You're not trying to get to a place of understanding. You're trying to get to the light. You got it? No, everything looks fine. I think everything looks. So it's not about moichin. You're not trying to just get to a place of intelligence. I understand. I understand the way creation is. I understand that the world is animated. I perceive it to be this way. I actually experiencing it. I'm experiencing light. The way of the Baal Shem Tov is the way of light. It's different than the way of intelligence. Because the way of intelligence is a moich level. It's an abstract, mindful level, which is very big. Because all of a sudden you understand things differently, and because I understand things, I can see things differently. But I'm not perceiving the light. Rabbi Baruch Mezhebu's grandson of the Baal Shem says the derech of Baal Shem, the way of the Baal Shem is the way of light, is the way of or. The Baal Shem is interested in the or. The or is actually the experience, because the experience is no separation. Okay, now. The Haino Oilamas and Shamas Alakus. These are the three things. The Oilamas and Shamas Alakus. These three things are the three things that we experience. Plus Alman Isla. These are the three worlds that there are. The three realities that the Zohar speaks about. So the Baal Shem says these are the three things: the worlds, souls, and divinity. And a person also needs to hear each word they speak. Why? So it's not just enough that you voice the words, but you actually should hear them. At least in your ears. You should hear what you say in davening and prayer. Why? Because the Shechina is the world of Dibur. Because the Shechina is the world of ears. And he becomes now a chaperone to the Shechina. What does this mean? What is the Shechina? What is the Shechina? What's the Shechina? The light of the Shechina, the presence of the Shechina. So there's an argument in the Rishonim and the early commentators between the Ramban and the Even Ezra and the Rambam. Everyone is busy with this. If the Shechina is the Kavod Niver or Kavod Boira, is it the glory of the creation or the glory of the Creator? So the Avodas HaKodesh, and this is the way it's going to be understood, is that there are actually different levels of the Shechina, but in very, very simple translation. Shechina is the divinity that's expressed in creation at this present moment. That's the Shechina. If two people are sitting together, or a person sitting together, and they're studying, so then there's a rising of the Shechina. Rav Nachman says if you want to know what the presence of the Shechina in the world is, go listen to what two women specifically, are talking about when they're not talking about something that they're just shoving the bull. Why? Because that's the state of the Shechina. What is the, let's say in America, I don't want to talk negatively about this great country, but if you want to know what is the state of consciousness in America at this present time? So you can't go to a lecture that someone's giving, or you can't even go to a ballpark to go to a stadium. You can't, because those are extremes. And a person intentionally goes. Walk down the street, and the average American street, and see what people are talking about in the street. That's the consciousness of America. Whatever people are talking.
That's the Shekhinah?
That's the Shekhinah's presence.
But I thought it's the divinity.
That's the divinity that's being expressed right this moment. If they're talking about sports or politics, or they're talking about nonsense, so the Shekhinah's presence is in a very lowly state. The Shekhinah is the divine, what's the consciousness of the time, or the consciousness of the place. And a person could be in the Shekhinah, and the Shekhinah can be revealed. It can be a higher level of the Shekhinah. Two people are talking meaningful words. The Shekhinah is higher, lower. So the Shekhinah constantly fluctuating. Right? The Shekhinah is the light that's being revealed in the world at this present moment. Through who? Through us. Therefore we can raise, and that's why we can't call Shekhinah God. I don't call Shekhinah God. God something is already transcendent of that. Or Ein Sof, the infinite. We're not none of the words. Shekhinah is not even one of the sacred names. It's not a sacred name of God. It's one of the names of Hashem. Shekhinah is the exact consciousness that's being revealed at this present moment. And that is completely dependent on us. So, but Shekhinah very quickly is connected with the Malchus. The Malchus is like the lordship or the kingdom of the Creator in this present moment, which Malchus is connected to speech. Now, when you are speaking words of meaning, so you become a chaperone. You become the Sheshvina l'Shechina. Because now your words that you're speaking, the Shechina is now speaking on a higher level. Because when you speak words of nonsense, and I'm not even talking about negative words, not if you're talking Lashon Hara, negative speech, or harmful words. I'm talking about you're just saying nothing, meaningless words. Rambam talks about different 5 levels of speech. Different levels of speech. It's like meaningful words, not meaningful words, necessity words, harmful words. There's different levels that you can speak. But let's say you're talking, just talking. Every time you talk, that's the level that's Shekhinah that's being revealed at this time. So when we think about this, we have to express it properly. So when we're saying words of prayer, words of davening, we want to say the words clearly. And we want to express sacred, holy sounds. So not just you want to say it. Instead of when you want to talk to someone and it's very busy, you're at a party and you want to really talk to the person, you scream or you talk louder because you want to make your point. But remember, your point that you're making right now is going to be the level of consciousness that's going to be present at this conversation. So if you have an opportunity to raise it to a higher level, of course you're going to say these words loudly. You're not going to mumble them all yourself. You're going to say the words because that's the level. And if you say them with sound, you're actually having an effect maybe on the person that's sitting next to you. Okay, but in prayer it becomes a little more difficult because you're not supposed to pray to bother the other person. That's another conversation. But the idea is that you should at least hear these words because it has an effect. When you say things, when you speak things, it actually has an effect on your consciousness as well. So this is the word thing, that first you have to say the words. So you have to enter fully into the words. You have to have intention before you say the words. And you have to hear every word that you say. Therefore it says, so you should be heroes. To get pleasure on a high person needs to have a lot of faith in this. The Shekhinah is not Amunas Amen, because the Shekhinah is called Amen. What does this mean? Believe Amunah will understand. Listen, without Amunah, without faith, it's called Nagron. Someone that's a gossiper is Mafrid Aleph, separates close friends, but it also means separates the Aleph. Nigron separates the Aleph. What this means like this. What is Amunah? What is faith? Faith, Emunah is clarity. Emunah doesn't mean, let's say what it doesn't mean. Emunah doesn't mean I believe in the absurd. That's not what Emunah is. Emunah means to see something clearly. To have total clearness in your mind, total clearness of observation, total clearness of who you are, What's your purpose? Why am I here? Where am I going? What's the direction that I have to take? This is the level of emunah. This is the level when we talk about faith. It's almost like a combination of faith in the Creator, in God, and faith in yourself. That it says, but when they split the splitting of the sea, it says, "Vayiminu b'Hashem," they believe in God, Hashem, and Moshe Avdei, and in Moshe, a servant. What does it mean that they believe in man and God? It means that they believe in themselves. Moshe is a euphemism for people. Vayiminu b'Hashem, Moshe Avdei. For the sea to split, they have to believe in Hashem and they have to believe in themselves. When they believed in it, what does it mean they believed? They saw with clarity, with conviction, that they had to pass through the sea. And here they are, and they have to get to this point. There's no going back because they saw clearly this is the only direction they have to go. When you see clearly this has to go, then a miracle happened. So what is emunah? Emunah is, I know clearly that this is my divine mandate. This is what I have to be doing. Now, it's a very big level to have a big, very strong, high level of emunah. But emunah, real emunah is not that I believe in the absurd, that something could, okay, it's possible because it seems that clear, because you have to go there. But it's the clarity, it's the behiras haseichel, it's the clarity of understanding. The clarity of understanding, I don't mean to understand a text. The clarity to understand who you are, and what's your divine purpose, and what's your mission, and what's the collective mission, why are we here? So sometimes you get a spark of that, sometimes you get a glimpse of it, sometimes it becomes more clear. That's the emunah. So he says like this. Bli emunah, what's emunah? So the emunah is to believe in the aleph, as it were, in the oneness. Bli emunah, without emunah, you become a nirga mafid aleph. The nirga mafid aleph becomes, says the gossiper separates friends, but aleph also comes from the word aleph. Someone that's a gossiper, what does a gossiper do? And it's not just a gossiper. It means a person that talks words that have ill effects on others. Someone says harmful words. What's the damage of the harmful words? When you speak harmful words, you're creating separation. It's the opposite of emunah. Because what is emunah? Emunah means that the understanding, the clarity of the oneness of Hashem, the clarity in the oneness and the purpose and my mission and my purpose, and I'm living it and I'm breathing it and I'm every moment. And when a person talks harmful about another person, all they're doing is creating destruction, creating the opposite of yichud, the opposite of unification. So when a person speaks words of prayer, he says you need great emunah, you need great faith. Because the more faith, the more emunah a person has, I don't like the word faith because it has other connotations, but the more emunah that a person has, the more they're going to understand the yichud, the more the words they're going to speak is going to be clear. If you have clarity in thought of what's your reason and why am I here, what's my purpose and what's my direction, and how I have to cross, and I have to get across, and I'm living from a place of my mission, and I know that's all to bring achdus Hashem, to bring oneness of Hashem in this world. So how could you speak negatively against another person? All it's going to do is going to create separation. So when a person speaks words of prayer, you need great emunah. And depending on the emunah, this is the level of a tzaddik. The level of a tzaddik is how much emunah he has, how much clarity he has. Bigger tzaddik has bigger emunah, less tzaddik has small tzaddik. Because the emunah, the more emunah you have, and the emunah, the oneness and the concept of the unity with achdus Hashem, the more your words you speak and the things that you think about and the actions that you do will always bring for unification versus separation. So therefore he says, you need great emunah. What does it mean that it should slope at one amma? So amma also comes from the word ima. Ima refers to, ima means mother. So amma has the same letters as the word ima. That not the same letters, but it's pronounced the same way. Ima means mother. Mother. In the spheres, okay, this is a little bit more Kabbalistic, but in the spheres, Malchus is called the daughter. Abba and Ima, father and mother, is Chachma and Bina. Right? Chachma is wisdom, is called the father. Bina is intellect, is called the mother. And the children is Zar Ampin, the small face, which is the 6 midas are called Ben, the son, and Malchus, which we spoke about, the Malchus, the Shechina, is called the daughter. So Amad Lechan L'Mayla means that the daughter, which means the words that you're going to speak, right? the teva, the words that you speak, which the words are connected, dibur is connected to malchus, which malchus is the shechina. Shechina is the daughter, is the bas. It should be connected always to the bina, which is the ima, which is intelligence. What does it mean? It should be connected always to intelligence. It means think before you speak. It's very simple words. That's what if you want to do this correctly, and you want to make sure that your words that you're saying is meaningful, and is only bringing about yichudim amitim, true unifications, because it's always expressing something that has meaning, and you're always connected with the olam neshamas and likus, and you're entering it fully into the words. If you want to do this correctly, think before you speak. Have ima, have intelligence, have mind. That's amat l'chad. This is one interpretation. The second interpretation, he says, or we can say, Lord, does this mean amat l'chad? This means ach sheyatza tev mepiv ein tzarech liskar oisel lahalan. Once you say over the words, once you say over the things that you said, don't think about it anymore. Let's read what he says. Don't see where it goes, where it travels, how far it goes. Just like you can't see in the sun. Just let go of it. So there's a certain simple way of reading it, that it means once you say it, don't follow it. You said it, you pushed out these words, you meant it, you entered fully into these words. Let go. The deeper understanding is that he's saying, let go of the expectation. You remember, this is a very hard work, because we're doing this in prayer. But again, this can be done in anything. So let's say you're davening, you're praying, right? And we say that you have to enter fully into the words. What does it mean to enter fully into the words? First, think what the words mean. Then enter fully with all your strength of your being to sound it. Enter fully into it, because you know that every single word, every single letter is comprised of words, which has olam, neshamas, and lakus, right? Which has worlds and souls and conscious and divinity, which means that it has soul, it has creator, creation, and consciousness. And you're elevating into the words, you're pushing yourself into the words, you have the intention, now you're fully reciting the words. Now you say, okay, Baruch, blessing, and you entered fully. So then you can say, okay, so the moment I finish saying that word, okay, let me see where it goes. Okay, I'm going to have results are. So where's the blessing? Right? There's an inclination, because you put yourself so much into these words that you want to see the result. Or let's give an example, and then maybe we can understand it better. Because we use this example of a person coming to ask you for advice, or to ask you a question. So someone comes along and says, I need $10. Or let's say he asks the question a little differently. He says, I need a little help. I'm having trouble with my boss. What should I do? And you're a very sympathetic and empathetic person, and you listen to the person, and you say, you know what? After thinking about this for a few days, I think this is what you should do. A few days later, you see the same guy, and he says, I have the same problem. So you say, did you message you? He says, nah, it was not. I couldn't. And then you give him another whole speech. He's not for 25 minutes. He's talking to the guy, and you really explain him, this is what you should do, and he really understands it. He said, thank you so much. And he's all fired, and you meet the guy a week later. He said, nah, it didn't work. This happens once, twice, 3 times. He said, forget it. I'm not going to give up this guy. Amat l'chad l'mayla means let go. This is a very deep thing. If whatever you're doing in this world, there's only what you can do. There's only a certain amount how much you can do. You can invest your energy, give your full self into the things that you're going to say, but once you say it, it's not in your control anymore. Whether the person's going to take this advice or not, or going to listen to you or not going to listen to you, or whether your praise is going to be answered, whatever we're talking about, there's what you could do, and there's what you can't do. The moment you do something, when you're doing it, do it fully. When you can no longer do it, let go of it. Just let go. Let's say you bought a beautiful watch. Buy something that's really beautiful. You spend a lot of money and a lot of effort, and you find it, it's unbelievable. Have it with you, and it's mamish unbelievable. And then one day it breaks. Let go of it. There's a certain period of time that I had to have it. Now I don't have to have it. That's why I broke. Or it's stolen. Or you lost it. You understand? This is the way that the Baal Shem Tov wants to live. There's a certain sense of looseness, a certain easiness. That you invest yourself fully, because this is really the shittas of Baal Shem. This is really the derech of Baal Shem, the way of the Baal Shem. That he really wants you to invest yourself fully, whatever you're doing. You speak mamish. Enter every single word you say. Nothing should be cheap. You're eating food, taste every single taste in that food. But the moment's over, you let go of it. It's fine. If you can't indulge, there's no reason to continue it. This is what the Baal Shem Tov said. Let go. Look what is, but this is deeper. What could you do? What could you do? The only thing that you can do in life is to enter into the thing that you're doing fully, to be fully conscious, to be present. Whatever you want to do, whatever single situation that you're doing in life, you have one. There's always one choice that you have, whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it fully. Whenever you do it fully. Enter ata, go you, your wife, your children, which is all metaphors of all different levels of yourself. Enter it fully. Certainly, when you're speaking words of prayer, when you're speaking the davening, enter fully into every word that you say. After you say it, let go. This is the first Torah of the Baal Shem. So, God willing, we will continue